What's up guys, it's Mackie Ninja here, and today we're talking about Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 and all that we'll cover. Now let's pick up from where the anime series left off, where Muzan is being encircled by all the Hashiras at the Ubiashi Manor. As the Hashiras were enclosing on Muzan, Muzan activates his trap card, the Infinity Castle, allowing for all the Hashiras to fall into the inner depths of the Infinity Castle. As all of the Hashira and Tanjiro begin to fall into the Infinity Castle, Muzan exclaims, "You're all going to hell. Do you think you have cornered me? Of you filthy demon slayers, tonight I'm going to kill every last one." As Tanjiro is falling, he hears Muzan's comment and quickly responds, "I'll never let you escape. I'm taking you down no matter what. You're the one who's going to hell, Muzan." And Muzan responds, "Then do it, if you can." Next we see Tanjiro falling, trying to figure out how to soften his fall, where he's quickly saved by Giyu, who throws him to a lower platform in the Infinity Castle. Tanjiro hits the ground on the lower platform and quickly realizes that it's Giyu that saved him. Right as Tanjiro is thanking Giyu for saving him, he quickly realizes that there's a demon right behind him and uses water-breathing first form water surface slash and kills the demon. And right after Tanjiro kills that demon, a whole nother mob of demons appear from behind him, and Giyu and Tanjiro make quick work of this mob. Next we see Obani making quick work of lower level demons using his serpent breathing to protect Kanroji. Next we see the Stone Hashira and the Mist Hashira commenting on the strength of the demons within the Infinity Castle, as well as talking about the death of their master Ubiashi. Next we see Inosuke, Genya, and Zenitsu all making their way through the Infinity Castle. Next we see the Insect Hashira, Shinobu, stumble upon a room due to the scent of blood. She sees someone surrounded by corpses. Upon further inspection, Shinobu realizes that it's a demon that's eating these corpses. Shinobu then has a flashback where she recalls her last moments with the flower Hashira, Kana. Kana begins to tell Shinobu that she should die as an old woman, as a normal person, instead of continuing on in the Demon Slayer corpse. As Kane dies in Shinobu's arms, Shinobu pleads with Kane to tell her which demon did it to her, telling her that she has to avenge her, that there's no way that she could live a normal life after this. As Shinobu finishes her flashback, the demon begins to turn around and introduces himself as Doma, the upper rank 2. And right after Doma finishes introducing himself, one of the corpses around him screams out, "Help me!" And in an instant, Doma quickly goes to silence him. However, Shinobu is able to rescue him before he's able to do so. Right after Shinobu rescues the corpse, she asks him if he's okay, and Doma quickly comments, "You're fast, are you a Hashira?" In that same moment, that corpse was slashed to pieces, and Doma makes the comment, "I'll make a proper meal of her later, so don't worry about that, just leave her there." It's in this moment that Shinobu begins to realize that Doma is wielding a pair of sharp fans, and begins to suspect that this is the demon that killed Kane. Shinobu and Doma begin to banter back and forth, and Doma begins to explain that he is the founder of the Eternal Paradise Faith, where he helps his followers no longer suffer and fear pain by devouring them. Shinobu begins to get angry, saying, "You really make me sick," and that Doma is insane. Then she begins to question him, "Do you remember seeing this Hiyori coat? You killed my sister." And Doma responds, "Oh, the girl was using flower breathing." Doma continues to say, "I really did want to finish. I couldn't finish eating her because the sun came up, I remember." Shinobu, enraged by Doma's comments, quickly thrusts her sword into Doma's left eye. Doma is caught off guard, but almost enjoying it at the same time, saying what an amazing thrust, and quickly uses his blood demon art, Frozen Lotus, to push back Shinobu. Doma begins to tell Shinobu that thrust techniques can't kill demons. The head, you really do have to sever the head. And Shinobu then asks the question, a thrust can't kill, but what about poison? Doma is caught off guard by this and quickly realizes that the poison's beginning to spread throughout his body. He hunches over and throws up blood. Doma then quickly realizes that his body is able to break down the poison and announces this to Shinobu and even points out that her katana makes a peculiar sound when sheathed, and he even wonders if this is when the compound in the poison changes. Doma then excitedly says, well, this is fun. Getting poison is interesting. I could make a habit of it, as Shinobu prepares for her next attack. We then see a quick flashback of Doma's upbringing as a child and how he came to be. After the flashback, we return back to Doma and Shinobu fighting, and Doma's commenting that it's the 5th time she struck him with the poison and it didn't work, and Shinobu's coming to realize that her poison is not as potent as it used to be due to him building up resistance to it. As Shinobu and Doma continue their fight, Doma points out that he uses demon art to suck out her blood and then mystify it and scatter everywhere. So now if she breathes in, it causes damage to her. So then Shinobu decides that she'll use a multiple attack to inject a large dose. So she prepares for insect breathing, Dance of the Dragonfly. And then Shinobu unleashes another fury of attacks called Compound Eye Hexagon. Doma quickly comments, you're really fast and maybe the fastest Hashira I've met so far. Fury of attacks on Doma, she pauses for a moment and then is suddenly cut, and she begins to wonder how he cut her. Doma then comments on Shinobu's small stature and size, saying although she is incredibly fast, if she was just a little bit bigger, she might have been able to chop off his head. Shinobu then has a flashback, recalling how throughout her Demon Slayer career that she's been noted for her small stature, even saying that she was jealous of Himaja for his great physical prowess, and saying that everyone breathes easy when he comes in. And then she finally recalls a moment about what Connie was saying right before she passed away, saying that, but perhaps you will lose to that demon, and then stopped mid-sentence. Shinobu then sees an illusion of Kane, commanding her to stand up, and telling her that once she has decided to win. With the encouragement of Kane, Shinobu begins to stand up. Doma is in awe of her determination. Shinobu begins to take a stance. She begins to perform insect breathing, Dance of the Centipede, and begins weaving so fast that Doma is unable to follow her movements. And in a blink of an eye, Shinobu gets down low and gets ready to pierce Doma's stomach and send him flying to the ceiling. Doma is unable to respond quick enough to block her attack and is sent flying to the ceiling with Shinobu's sword piercing his stomach. As Shinobu stabs Doma in the stomach and the poison begins to spread, she makes the comment, even if we're weak and can't cut off a demon's head, if we defeat one demon, we can save dozens of people, and if we defeat an upper rank Kazuki, we can save hundreds. As Shinobu begins to fall, she quickly realizes that the poison is no longer working on Doma, and then she becomes furious and can't believe how this is happening. Her in tightly and begins to cry, telling her that she's done an admirable job trying to defeat her, just like her older sister. However, it is pointless. And then suddenly, Kana bursts through the door, seeing Shinobu being held by Doma. Doma quickly starts absorbing Shinobu, and at the sight of this, Kana is enraged and in shock as she watches Shinobu's sword fall to the ground. Kana quickly jumps towards them, performing flower-breathing fourth form Crimson Hangoromo. Doma quickly dodges Kane's attack and even comments how dangerous it was, and even scolds her for trying to interrupt him while he was in the middle of absorbing Shinobu. Kane remains still despite watching Shinobu almost finished being absorbed by Doma, and Doma is puzzled by this. He begins to ask, did she tell you about my powers or something? It just took a moment. Impressive. She tries hard despite the futility. We now return back to Zenitsu, who's now encountering his senior, Kaigaku. Zenitsu and Kaigaku enter a dialogue where they start off by belittling each other, but as the conversation gets more intense, Zenitsu reveals that their master committed seppuku because of the fact that Kaigaku became a demon. And Kaigaku responds by saying that he doesn't care and that he only values people that value him, and that he was upset that the old man was making him a co-successor with Zenitsu, and this angers Zenitsu greatly. And Zenitsu responds with, "If I'm scum, then you're trash. I can only do the first form and you can do everything except that." And he says that I feel sorry for the old man for having such pathetic successors. Kaigaku gets angered by it and says, "Don't let me in with you." As the two thunder-breathing successors begin their clash, Kaigaku performs thunder-breathing fourth form Distant Thunder as Zenitsu prepares for his attack. As the two continue to fight, Zenitsu lands a slash on Kaigaku and says, "You're too slow, you filth." And Kaigaku spurts blood out from his neck. And he says, "He cut me. He's so fast. He moves like a completely different person." As the battle rages on, Kaigaku unleashes multiple thunder-breathing forms against Zenitsu with little resistance or him being able to defend himself, until they reach a critical breaking point where Zenitsu unleashes thunder-breathing 7th form Hano Kaizuchi no Kami, cutting off Kaigaku's head. As both of them begin to free fall, Kaigaku is screaming how angry he is that he's lost to Zenitsu, who he thought was a weaker person. And Zenitsu says, "This is my form. I created it so it's all mine. With this technique, I wanted to fight you as an equal." As Zenitsu's about to hit the ground, Hashira quickly catches him and saves him, and then begins to perform some medical treatment to try and stabilize Zenitsu. Next, we're taken to Tanjiro and Giyu running down one of the Infinity Castle's corridors when they finally hear a loud, thunderous crash. Tanjiro and Giyu pause for a moment, trying to figure out where the enemy is coming from, and then from up above, Akaza comes slamming down into the floor. As Tanjiro and Akaza come face to face, they immediately start exchanging blows, and Tanjiro uses fire-breathing Fire Wheel and cuts off Akaza's arm, but Akaza responds with a backhanded fist, but Tanjiro quickly dodges it. As Giyu watches Tanjiro exchanges blows with Akaza, he has a realization that Tanjiro is equivalent to a Hashira's level, and he recalls the day that he first met Tanjiro, where all he could do was hang his head in despair and beg for his sister's life. But now he can fight and save his dignity or his life. Akaza finally acknowledges Tanjiro's talent and decides to get serious about the fight and uses his technique development. It's at this point where Giyu begins to enter the fight and uses water-breathing 3rd form Flowing Dance. Akaza remarks, "It's been 50 years since I've encountered a water Hashira." Tanjiro and Giyu continue their battle against Akaza, unleashing multiple forms, whether it's water-breathing or sun-breathing. It's on until the last moment when Akaza asks for Gyu's name, and Giyu refuses to reveal his name to Akaza, that Akaza unleashes his demon art Explosive Fury, sending Giyu flying through multiple rooms. So at this point, it's just Akaza and Tanjiro that are fighting at this moment. And then Akaza decides to bring up how he was dissatisfied with Rengoku and said that he was a weakling. In this sense, Tanjiro over the edge. It's shortly after their conversation that Akaza seems to have a illusion of his former master trying to hold him back and teach him how he needs to help others. And then Akaza immediately punches, but it's just empty space. And then Akaza says, "Tanjiro, you really are unpleasant," and unleashes his move, Destructive Death Crushing type. As the battle intensifies between Tanjiro and Akaza, Akaza has an instant increase in speed and strength and is landing blows left and right on Tanjiro, and he's barely able to deflect or even absorb the blows. And then Tanjiro goes to make a wide open swing on Akaza's head, and Akaza catches it with both hands, and then Tanjiro immediately headbutts him. And just in the nick of time, before Akaza is able to snap Tanjiro's blade, Giyu slices off his hands and says, "My back hurts, something fierce. You really sent me flying." It's at this point that Giyu awakens his Demon Slayer mark on his left side of his face. While Giyu keeps Akaza occupied with his newfound increased speed and strength, Tanjiro starts to wonder why Akaza's attacks are so accurate and precise. He begins to realize a conversation that he had with him a while ago where he was talking about his fighting spirit. After that, Tanjiro has another memory that he recalls that he had with Inosuke, where he's talking about a weak blow without any hostility won't cut through a demon's rough neck. It was in that moment that Tanjiro realized that because of the hostility and anger that Akaza could sense that, and that's why he was able to perceive his attacks before they even attacked. Then Tanjiro begins to wonder how he can re-enter the transparent world, like he did when he was fighting Hentengu, where he could see through his body. It's at this moment that Tanjiro is trying to put together all this information in order to effectively take down Akaza. Alright, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on my future content. Until next time.